Will better equipment make you a faster sim racer? Yes, it will. That's my answer, and I fully stand by it. There are very few people for which having better equipment won't translate to some kind of improvement somewhere. But not so fast, no pun intended, because not all of the facets of your ability as a sim racer will be equally transformed or improved, and it's important to understand just how the improvement will manifest itself. Now, before I get into it, do please watch the whole video before you comment, but comments are super welcome. I want to hear your own opinions on this. This is usually a really engaging and lively topic. If you happen to have low-end sim racing equipment, entry-level stuff, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from learning how to sim race, setting great lap times, and even world records. It will take more of your time and concentration to do it, but there's no magical limit, there's no hard cap, there's no paywall. Let's say you were to hold a fastest lap competition where people were free to put as much time and effort into it as possible, any car, any circuit. I'd bet you good money that some of the top fastest lap times in the world would be set by people on low-end equipment, driven by people with shocking talent. Equipment doesn't give you talent, it just allows the talent you already have to shine more clearly. Where better equipment truly makes a difference is when you only have a limited window to perform and accuracy is important. In other words, races. It's in race length stints where the better equipment will truly make a difference to you, and I'll explain how. And I'm not a physiologist, so please take the following as an artistic depiction of how I view things. Higher end equipment is, on the whole, better at communicating the simulation's feedback to you and better at translating your inputs to the simulation. Your steering will talk to you more and your pedals will hear your feet better. Whereas on lower end equipment, with the absence of strong feedback cues and the weaker relationship between you and your pedals, more of your active focus is being spent on correcting the mild or unpredictable inaccuracies introduced to your race by the lower end equipment. And over a race distance, over many laps, those small sprinkles of inaccuracies can add up to quite a lot. This means that cheaper equipment is generally more expensive when it comes to mental focus. It takes more concentration to be fast because you have to listen harder to the weaker signals that the simulation is trying to give you. Signals that you have to react to in sim racing in order to give it your best. Whereas with higher end equipment, many of the challenging parts of sim racing can actually become a lot easier, to the point where some of it can be dealt with by the subconscious mind. It's easier to catch slides, easier to know where the limit is, easier to tread the fine margins of being fast. You rely less on your eyes and ears scanning the screen for little cues that something might be about to go wrong, and you rely more on your muscles and limbs, which feel more closely hooked into your reflexes. When difficult things become easy enough for your subconscious to handle, that frees up more of your active concentration, your active focus, to do other things like attack the track as hard as you can, or you can just hold some of that brain power back so that you don't feel so much fatigue over a race distance. In short, the better your equipment is, the less mentally exhausting sim racing can be, whilst at the same time it becomes more physical, fun and immersive. To put it another way, you can knock over a tin can with a slingshot. Might take you a few shots to get it, but you can knock the can over. You can do it, no pun intended. However, if you want to knock that can down again and again and again, whilst barely missing any of those shots, you don't need a slingshot, you need a target rifle. The end result between the slingshot and the target rifle is still the same, the can gets knocked off the fence, but the efficiency and consistency with which you can hit that can changes. It improves in line with improving your equipment. So if your objective is to knock down that can, both methods can do it. But if your objective is to knock that can down reliably and quickly every time, you need the rifle. My own personal experience of equipment upgrades can underline my opinion. I've used a Logitech G25, G27 and G29 over the span of 10 years up until 2020. I learned almost everything I know about sim racing on a Logitech wheel. I felt pretty hooked up to them. I felt like I could actually do pretty well. As a result, I was actually able to punch in pretty good times in practice sessions and often in qualifying as well. But it was in race stints where I just struggled the most. It took a lot of concentration and focus just to get through every race and hold on to my positions, if I could even do that. And the spectre of a race-ending mistake or a spin or a little wobble always had one hand on my shoulder. Races were pretty tiring because I had to be mentally on high alert for every single little mild or minor signal that the wheel was trying to communicate to me. I could still put in a race stint that was pretty close to my absolute best pace, but it burned through my mental reserves so fast. If I let my guard down even for a second, I might miss a precursor to a spin, a clue that something's about to go wrong, or just make a plain old mistake. Driving at DEFCON 5 is okay for 10 minutes, but for race stints of 30 minutes or more, the mind will tire. In the end, my desire to upgrade to better equipment was driven by the feeling that I was just at some form of physical disadvantage to everybody around me. That particular feeling is probably one you're familiar with. It might be the reason you clicked on this video. I was often qualifying well and starting near the front, but over a race distance, these mistakes would just cost me over time. On my clean laps, my pace was rapid, but I had too many dirty laps to maintain my position up front. My strategy was to just qualify well and then do damage limitation from there. It was about how well I could stop myself from losing those places once I'd qualified near the front. That's not how you're supposed to do this. So in 2020, I eventually stepped up from my Logitech G29, as faithful as it had been. I swapped it out for a Fanatec CSL Elite, Club Swap V3 pedals and Fanatec Formula wheel. It felt like 10 Christmases at once. I immediately understood what I'd been missing this whole time. The car felt like a car. I was able to draw upon elements of feedback that simply weren't there before. After acclimatizing to the new kit, it felt like all the skills and ability that I'd grown on my Logitech wheel over all these years was really coming out to shine and was magnified, but more importantly, I was just having a lot more fun. And ever since then, I've been consistently drawn in and absorbed into sim racing, contributing to the reason this channel exists. I don't think this channel would exist if I hadn't have made the upgrade back in the day and just found a fresh breath of life into this passion that I've loved for 15 years. It really just went mad in the last 4 years. But hang on a minute, and I've got to be self-aware here because I do create a lot of hardware reviews. This channel is in a large part supported by referrals and commission from sales from you guys watching those videos, and then when you buy your upgrades, you do it through my link. Of course, I'm going to say that better equipment makes you better. It's in my interest to do so, isn't it? I mean, that's true, but I also firmly believe I'm correct. I stand by my words completely, and hopefully in this video I've articulated to you why. I wave the banner for sim racing as a whole. I think it's super important for you to focus on improving your own ability first and foremost, but you also need the right tools to match your ability. I create guides and tutorials that have nothing to do with hardware that are designed to help you improve your own sim racing ability. But I also think it's easier and faster for you to apply what you've learned with the right equipment. And I love hearing people come back to me and say, wow, what a difference, because I was there 4 years ago. It was amazing. I felt like I had an epiphany. At the end of the day, some people are probably watching this and going, well, duh, this isn't an unpopular opinion. Of course, for most people, better kit means better racing, but I think it's probably because some people don't want to say it sometimes because they're worried about coming across as elitist. It's not elitist to say that better kit means better racing. It's elitist to chuck stones at people on cheaper equipment just because you happen to be at a point in your life where you've got the disposable income or are just willing to do that. It's like driving a Lambo. The Lambo itself does not make you elitist. I mean, it's gonna have people suspecting you are, but the Lambo doesn't make you elitist. It's driving past people going, losers, that's what makes you elitist. So if one day you do get a Lambo, do yourself a favour and keep the windows up. So finally then, having said that, it's silly for me to sit here and preach about how better equipment makes a difference and not give you my own recommendations as to what's good for the money. So here are a few of my own recommendations for PC sim racers depending on your budget. You'll find more information in the description and hopefully in the comments as well. Your experiences are super important here because I'm just one guy. I haven't tried everything under the sun. I've probably only really scratched the surface. So your opinions and comments about what has been great for you is also highly valued here. So the opinions that follow are based on equipment that's passed through my hands at some point and I can actually talk from experience about. So under 500 quid, the Moza R5 Bundle is probably what I would pick. The feedback is surprisingly strong for its budget. The pedals are a bit naff, but they're always going to be for that kind of money. To get a wheelbase and pedals for 100, 500 quid, something's got to give. So the pedals are limited, but that's normal for things around that price. Under £1,000, I'd opt for Fanatec's CSL DD McLaren Ready to Race bundle. It's got the McLaren GT3 wheel, a CSL DD 8Nm and CSL Elite B2 pedals. I've used all of those things extensively in the past, and if I had a budget of £1,000, I'd buy that, and then you've got some wiggle room left over for whatever you like. Under the £1,500 mark, it's going to be the Asetek Simsports Prima bundle. I was super impressed with the polish and presentation of that bundle. It's really nice to drive, and it quickly became one of my favourite recommendations because it's an ecosystem which actually seems to be pretty serious. And at 12 Nm of power, you'll only want more if you just want more. If the Prima bundle was the only bundle I could drive forever from now on, I'd be pretty happy with that. I wouldn't feel shortchanged in terms of performance. It's actually really, really nice. Now, over 1,500 quid, things are more about adding luxuries and hardcore, hyper-specialised equipment. But there are nonetheless good reasons to go spending that kind of money if it's something you love doing. I can think of few better reasons to buy something than just because you want to. But in order to respect the topic of this video, I'll put recommendations in the description on my site or something, because there's so much to choose and I haven't even had the pleasure of trying most of it, so it's just going to be an editorial wish list of mine. But by the time you start considering spending that kind of money, I'm hoping that you'll have had enough time to come back and agree with me on my hypothesis in this video. Better equipment makes sim racing easier to learn and engage with, and faster lap times are more consistently achievable at less mental cost to your focus, all of which combines to improve your performance over a race stint. But there's absolutely nothing fundamentally stopping you from learning all about sim racing and setting incredibly fast lap times and world records on the most basic of kit. It will just take you more time. I learned everything I know on my Logitech G25, 27, 29, on my Logitech wheels, but I was further refined and polished by the equipment that I have come to love and use today. I would definitely struggle to match my current lap times and performance if I was to go and step back to the equipment I was using back in 2020. It would just be impossible. It would fry my brain. But on the flip side, if you're fast on low-end kit now, then come the day when you upgrade, you'll be flying. Well, thanks for watching. I hope this was an interesting take, and cheers again.